talk about a piece of software that I developed with some friends called Barlow-Busch. And I'm just going to start with saying that I'm not a user experience expert either, and I'm not a software developer. I'm actually a graphic designer. I have a graphic design business that I run from my home. Love my business. I have lots of free time. Really get to play with my calendar, play with my clients, really good clients. I don't like the business part of my business. I don't like figuring out GST. I don't like figuring out my time tracking, sending invoices. I'd rather just be drawing pictures and doing creative stuff. So with some friends, we decided to develop a piece of software to take care of that. And we had the key goal was to just have something that runs the business effortlessly, just really easy, doesn't, and lets me just really do the stuff I like to do. And then a secondary goal was to really build it so that anybody can use it. So if we've got an accountant or a lawyer could actually pick it up and just use the software, not just graphic designers. We looked at a couple of key areas before we started development. One of them was this is Apple users that would be using it. So we looked at software that Apple users were using, and mainly Apple software. So we looked at good ideas for the interface to make it really clean. And the second piece that we were looking at was existing workflows that companies were using for their projects, and how what worked, what didn't work, what they'd actually like to see. And we came up with what we call a simple project workflow. It's got 4 steps, and we actually built them right into the top of our software. The 4 buttons represent the 4 steps for our workflow. And the idea is that anybody who's managing projects is willing to step through these 4 steps at a minimum. So that's, if they do nothing else, they have to at least reference each of these steps. So actually, I'm going to just walk you through the 4 steps really quickly using the software, just to show an example, and then I'll be done, so I might be kind of early here. So the first step is just create a client, and we set it up so that a client is really easy to create. We actually just bring them in from AddressBook, which is the Apple AddressBook software. Or you can type them in and send them right into AddressBook, so it's actually integrated. Anything else I want to say? No. So once we have a contact we put in, we can actually create a project. Projects have this information we can put in, details. There's also more details that aren't included in the first pane of creating a project. So it can actually be pretty complex. And then we can set the status to active, prospects, on hold, dead, that there's a project that started and then was canceled, and then complete. And then the next step is the timesheet, which we actually can track the time for any project. And I actually kind of wish that I had a sample that had a lot of information in it, because it looks kind of cool. What we've got is the hours of the day across the top. And then for each log item that we put in, we have a little block of time, kind of like a calendar, that shows when the project started, when it stopped. And you can click on the block, move it around, slide it, make it longer. Or you can also edit it on the information bar at the side. And one of the best things that I love about this is that it actually shows the full amount of time I've worked in a day. So actually, I didn't used to know how many hours I worked in a day on billable time. So I can just look and see, my whole week I can see, this day I worked 5 hours, this day I worked 8 hours, which is great. And the last piece is managing invoices. So we just create invoices. We create them by client. We create them by the project. So I could have 5 invoices for one client, or I could have just one invoice that shows all 5 projects that a client might have. We can then approve the invoice, send the invoice. So we can send by email, or we can send to another piece of software. And then once the invoice is paid, we actually put the payment into the information account. Also, expenses. We can put expenses in the project view, and I think in all of these. That's all I want to say about that. And so that's my hourly presentation, hourly software. We're at the beta stage. We just released the beta June 1st, and it's available online. It's a free piece of software to download, and we're really eager to get feedback from people. So if you're a Mac user and you'd like to take a look at it and send us comments, I really appreciate it. Any questions?
This kind of planning programs can get quite detailed. How do you decide what to leave out?
I was building it for myself more than anybody, right? So, we had a lot of conversations on like, the four buttons across the top. It took us a long time to figure out what 4 buttons are actually important. We had it up to 7, and then we had them up and down. So it was a trick to figure out what's really important. There's a lot of depth to it. Like you create a project, and you create subcategories inside of a project, and then each one of those could have tasks inside of it, and you can track your time for all those things separately. Or the way that I tend to work now is I just have one project, and I just track all my time inside of that project. So it really can have a lot of depth, and we just kind of hit the depth and just showed the basics so that it's really easy to